Good day, everyone. For this session, we are going to discuss PAS or IAS, Philippine Accounting Standards or International Accounting Standards number 24. That is all about related party disclosures. You can see on the picture of an illustration about a related party in which, as defined, this is a party that has certain financial relationships with certain persons. For example, would be a business with its board of directors, say, for example, a corporation with a board of directors who are the managers overall speaking for the business or corporations. Then the companies in a group, let's say that there are brothers and sisters companies of a certain organization, of a conglomerate or a group. Then the key management personnel, those personnel holding strategic positions in the organization. Strategic meaning very important positions in the organization that would normally influence how an organization would be run or would be managed. Then, of course, the close family members of these key management personnel. Family members will be discussed later on. All right. So this is just a short standard though, and the explanations will be brief and concise. So you wouldn't find this much burdensome. Here are our learning objectives. We should be able to enumerate examples, or we can enumerate examples of related parties, and we can describe the disclosure requirements for related parties. So what are the notes, disclosures that should be found on the notes to financial statements about such? Okay, so objective and scope of IAS 24 is that it prescribes the necessary disclosures, meaning again, additional information in the form of paragraphs, not necessarily just the amounts, but of course there could be words or let's just say sentences and paragraphs of discussions about the related party relationships and the transactions between the related parties, their outstanding balances, the receivables and payables for each other, and commitments between an entity and its related parties. Because it's possible that they have contracts and negotiations between them that would materially affect the values and amounts of the transactions. For example, if there is a sale of merchandise between the related parties and we are going to compare that with outside parties, there are great possibilities that the prices charged to related parties are much smaller as compared to those charged with outside parties. So that's the point of these commitments or negotiations. Then core principle, the financial position and profit or loss, so meaning the assets, liabilities, and equity and the income and expenses of an entity may be affected by a related party relationship even if related party transactions do not occur. The mere existence of the relationship may be sufficient to affect the transactions of the entity with other parties. So example of that, let's say no receivables and payables, no sales and purchases with each other for the period. However, we have to take note that, for example, or as an example, under IAS 28, investments in associates and joint ventures. By the way, if we say associates, this means that a certain investor, a business, for example, let's say company X, has at least 20% to 50% ownership of the shares of a corporation. So remember, guys, a corporation has shares. These are the equities of the business, and this is the proof of ownership of an investor, or also known as shareholder. So if you would like to own a corporation, buy at least one share or stock. So those are synonymous terms, share or shares and stock or stocks. And then if let's say that particular company, our associate is company Y. So let's say no transactions between the two entities, the parent called the acquirer, of course, the company that acquires the shares, 20% to 50%, and the associate or acquiree, the company that is acquired. let's just say again, no transactions that happen between the two. However, the associate has profits or even losses. The parent will have a share out of such based on the percentage of ownership. Let's say acquired 30%. So 30% of the profits and losses will have to be reflected to the investment balance of that particular investment in associate. So that's also true with investment in joint venture. So joint venture is when, for example, two or more entities, specifically partnerships and corporations, organized a certain entity that can either be a partnership or corporation, of course, for a certain undertaking, and that undertaking will have to end once the purpose or once the goal has been achieved. So that's a joint venture. In that case, whatever profits and losses of the joint venture, even if no intercompany transactions, will have impact to financial position and profit or loss of the parent. So that's a good thing. Or the ventures, if that's a joint venture. Those are just example, guys, or examples. However, such will be tackled more in your other higher accounting subjects or other accounting standards, but not necessarily in this particular course. So in higher years, then other transactions or other relationships may be discussed later on. Then this particular sentence, going on or moving on, the mere existence of the relationship may be sufficient to affect the transactions of the entity with other parties. As said, prices could be lower if done by related parties. The necessary disclosures, therefore, should be provided to draw users' attention to the possible effects of such relationships and transactions on the financial statements presented. Otherwise, if we don't have the disclosures, the users might be thinking otherwise, or we don't know what they would think when different prices are charged to certain parties, or how come they're charged differently. So that's why we have to provide necessary disclosures. Even the price charged to them would be part of the disclosures. Okay, what is a related party as defined? It is a person, meaning a human being, or entity, meaning a business, whether a sole proprietorship, partnership, or corporation, that is related to the reporting entity that is preparing its financial statements. So when we say a person, actually in law, we have two types of persons, the natural person and the artificial person. If you say natural person, of course, clearly human beings. Then entity here is an artificial being or juridical being, again, so proprietorship, partnership, or corporation. Now, there's the word that is related to the reporting entity. The reporting entity here is our entity that prepares and presents the financial statement. So these persons or entities are related to our reporting entity. How related? Normally would be in a form of, let's say, financial relationship. That's the common one. But then there could also be in a form of, let's say, influence, the degree of influence that is being exerted by a person in order to control or govern or, again, influence a particular reporting entity. So here are some examples. I mentioned a while ago about associate. That is the significant influence that I was talking about. So the investor or the parent has a significant influence over the investee, and we call this also the acquiree or the associate. On another hand, if we say joint control, that is for joint venture. So the investors are the joint venturers, while the investee would be the joint venture. So there is joint control because the control is shared by at least two. Control, on another hand, is between the parent and the subsidiary. So in this case, we need to have at least 51%, of course, maximum 100%, in order to have control. Next, key management personnel. These are the personnel having strategic positions again in the organization. Close family members are the spouse or husband and the children or kids, which are going to influence as to how these key management personnel would decide. Then the post-employment benefit plan for organizations, normally, if they have this particular setup, like, for example, if employees would be retiring in the future, they would be getting benefits or retirement benefits and packages. Normally, the post-employment benefit plan will be a separate entity. So that will be a certain entity that is set up, which is separate really from the control or assets of the organization, on that sense that the organization and the management cannot just easily remove or change whatever assets there are on the plan. That is also for the protection of the employees. Next, here are our definition of terms. So I mentioned a while ago about significant influence. I will begin with this one. This is the power to participate in the financial and operating policy decisions of an entity. So you can suggest, you can agree, disagree, but not control over those policies. Because if we say control later on, that is actually the power to govern. So really, the voice would matter. So if you agree or disagree and you have the control, then that's it. Significant influence may be gained by share ownership, statute, or agreement. So we don't have necessarily like a WAG of 20% to 50%. That's our assumption or presumption. However, we will know later on that we can have significant influence and control even by contract. So we don't have to really get or own shares or buy shares. It can be by law or by contract. Also, that is true for control. So control is between parent and subsidiary. Significant influence is parent and associate, while joint control is with the joint venturers, the joint venturers and the joint venture. Okay, so control is an investor controls an investee when the investor is exposed or has rights to variable returns from its involvement with the investee. So these variable returns are, of course, the dividends out of the profits, because profits would change from one accounting period to another. So the exposure to these profits and the rights to them would vary or would change depending on the performance of the subsidiary. Then it has the ability to affect those returns through its power over the investee. So because of the power to govern in the financial and operating policies, especially the strategic ones, so the decisions or the major decisions then would have clear impact on how the respective subsidiary would be run. So that's the point of having these abilities then by the parent or the parents. All right. So another one item here is joint control, wherein this is contractually agreed sharing of control over an economic activity. As said, it could be both partnerships or both corporations, or either you have a particular undertaking or purpose, and normally long term. Then after that is finished, the contract is also finished, and the control is shared by the two or more, such that we are going to have the consent of, let's say, the two of them, or in a three, just the two, or any of two of them, in order for us to make a decision. So that's the joint control, from the word joint meaning shared. Another set of terms, we have the key management personnel. Again, as what I've said, they have the strategic decisions in the organization, and they can influence in terms of how the business is run. So they have authorities and responsibilities for planning, directing, and controlling the activities of the entity. These are the management functions: planning, organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling. Can be directly or indirectly, including any director, and whether that director is part of executive officers or having executive functions. Normally in an organization, the board of directors, of course, are shareholders, because that's the requirement. For one to become a board of director or one of the board of directors, one must own at least one share, so also a shareholder. The board of directors may not be officers or holding positions in the organization. However, normally speaking, the chairman of the board of directors is also the chief executive officer or CEO. So in that case, the board of director happens to be the chairman, a shareholder also holds an executive position. However, the term here, key management personnel under PAS or IAS 24, does not require for one director to be executive or otherwise. Normally, the key management personnel, though, are executive officers. Okay, so could be holding positions from president down to bottom or holding the vice president positions. They are like key management personnel. Close members of the family of an individual includes the partner and the children. So the individual's domestic partner and children, children of the individual's domestic partner, and dependents of the individual or the individual's domestic partner. So the partner, the children, the kids, and the dependents, because the decision again of a key management personnel would be affected by the happenings in the home with respect to the close members, or the decisions to be affected by also the decisions in the home. Now, a related party transaction is a transaction that involves transfer of resources, so whether received or given with or parted with, services or obligations between a reporting entity and a related party, regardless of whether a price is charged. This is very important because it's possible that what is given is for free or what is sold is for free without any amount or of lesser amount. That's why the related party transactions are really disclosed in order to give more information to the public. Then these are examples of unrelated parties. The following are not related parties. Just because two entities have a director in common, that they would be related parties. So again, we have already mentioned the four examples of related parties a while ago. So we said that it would be the close family members, for example, the key management personnel, the post-employment benefit plan, and those items involving investment. Another occasion or another case is that two venturers, simply because they share joint control over a joint venture. So a while ago I mentioned though about joint ventures under IAS 28. However, two venturers, just because they share joint control over a joint venture, that they are now related parties. So what do we mean by that? Let's say Company A and Company B organize a joint venture, that is Company ABC. Clearly, Company A is related with Company ABC. So Company A is the venturer, ABC is the joint venture. Company B also, who happens to be a venturer, is related to the joint venture ABC. However, Company A is not related automatically, so it's possible they're related with Company B just because they are venturers in a joint venture. I hope that is clear. Number 3, examples of this one would be banks, providers of finance, trade unions, public utilities, and departments and agencies of a government that does not control, jointly control, or significantly influence the reporting entity. So they don't have clearly any of the three, simply by virtue of their normal dealings with an entity. So let's say the bank has extended a huge amount of loan to the company. Just because of that, it's not automatic that we or they would become related parties. Number 4, a customer, supplier, franchisor, distributor, or general agent with whom an entity transacts a significant volume of business, significant or material or substantial, could be, of course, case-to-case basis. That's judgmental, based on professional judgment though. So just because we have significant volume of businesses with those, any of the 5 or both, or all, if possible, then simply by virtue of the resulting economic dependence, that it is now going to be considered as related parties. So again, we have to go back to the provisions of IAS 24 to become related parties then. All right. Then What are the disclosures? So again, this is the last part because this standard is just short. In terms of control between the parent and subsidiary, how do we establish control? Presumably, we need to acquire 51% minimum or 50 plus 1%. That is normally the wordings under the law in order for us to have control over a subsidiary as parent or investors, regardless of whether there have been transactions between them. So it's not important to have transactions. The relationship is already enough. Second, key management personnel compensation. So their benefits, their salaries, etc., broken down into the following categories: spots and loans to key management personnel. So there, of course, clear compensation, the benefits, the salaries, and so on, including the loans extended to them. Then third would be the related party. These are now on the transactions. The nature of transaction, what was that all about? What are the details? Then outstanding balances. Additional note, disclosures that related party transactions were made on terms equivalent to those that prevail in arm's length transactions are made only if such terms can be substantiated. What do you mean by this? If we say arm's length transactions, if we are just going to be very literal about this, like the arm's length, that is the length that we would like to talk about if we are going to think of transactions made between a company and an outside party or a third party. So the transaction is done in an arm's length, normally because they are not related. So disclosures that related party transactions were made similarly to arm's length transactions, meaning with an outside party or a third party, shall be made if such terms can be substantiated, meaning we can really provide the details about that and we have proofs if asked or evidences if asked from us. All right, so that's additional information though. Because again, normally for first three items or any other related party transactions, they are not done in arm's length. Hence, they are to be disclosed. But if made in arm's length, again, there has to be a substantiation or additional information. All right, so that's the end of this short standard. Hopefully you learned something from this session. See you in another learning points or venues for another accounting standard. And I'll see you next time again. Thank you and God bless us all.